What's up everyone, it's Bran here from Bloody Breakdown, and today we're going to be talking about a little theory that I have going, and maybe it's just my opinion, maybe there'll be some people that agree with me, maybe not, we'll see. But as you can tell, the title of this video is Horror Franchises Foul Fifth Entries. Now what do I mean by that is I have a bit of a theory, as I alluded to earlier, that when it comes to a horror franchise, damn near any horror franchise, with a few exceptions granted, the fifth entry in said franchise is always the weakest, or, I mean, it could range from being just the weakest entry in the franchise all the way to being complete and utter dog shit bad. So today I kind of wanted to put this theory to the test and talk about some of the various fifth entries that I feel are on that scale of weak to dog shit. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right in, and let's start with the... And I've had people tell me this isn't the fifth film in the franchise, but I mean, if you're looking at when these films were released, which I am for this list, it is. And that's Alien vs. Predator. It's the fifth film in the Alien franchise, and it would of course follow the first four with Sigourney Weaver's character. This one, while it's not as bad as its own sequel, AVP 2 Requiem, it's still pretty awful. I think that, you know, Freddy vs. Jason gets a lot of plaque from people as being really bad, and where I agree that there was definitely room for improvement in that film, I think it blows something like this out of the water. This movie, for me, I never got excited about a single part of it. Nothing really... Even though Freddy vs. Jason is bad, you have those moments where you really feel like you're getting some fan service or something that's really cool for one or both franchises. For this one, I didn't feel it. So yeah, what do you guys think? I don't know. Seems like a pretty weak entry to me. I'm not saying it's complete and utter dog shit, although I think that could be argued, but it is very weak in the Alien franchise, which is ever expanding now. I still think the AVP movies kind of stand out, at least in my mind, as just some serious weak times for the franchise. Both, really. So coming up next, and I have this movie in a pack here, would be the fifth entry in the Child's Play franchise. I'm talking about Seed of Chucky. This one, in my opinion, is the absolute worst in the franchise. It's not a weak point in the franchise, it's a complete and utter failure in the franchise. I think that if you look, and that's not just because it's one of the comedy Chucky films, because I really enjoy Bride of Chucky. I think that movie was handled really well, and it was really balanced well when it came to horror and comedy. In Seed of Chucky, it's full-on comedy, and not that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's, you know, keeping the franchise fresh and experimenting is something that this franchise has always done, and done well, with the exception of this film. I just think that the comedy is not really that funny. It's a little too hokey, and it just doesn't land with me personally. So I think that's another part 5 that definitely belongs on the list, Seed of Chucky. Coming up next, I don't have a whole lot to say about this one other than it just seemed weak, and with the exception of one scene, I could totally forget about it, and that's Final Destination 5. I mean, let's be honest, guys. The first couple of movies were pretty good, but I think, honestly, this storyline tired quickly, and maybe it's not just the storyline's fault, it was just the fact that these films, up to a certain point, just seem like the same old thing over and over again. And as I alluded to earlier, if it wasn't for the scene at the end that wraps this back around to the beginning of the first movie, which is really the only part that I enjoyed, I couldn't say there's other saving grace for this movie. It's just another Final Destination film. I think they try to throw some other elements in, but it's really not in the forefront like it should be, and doesn't work for me. The next one is from my favorite horror franchise, and I can even admit that maybe it's not the absolute worst in the franchise, but damn if it isn't close. And that's Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Other than maybe Halloween Resurrection, this is probably, in my opinion, the worst in the franchise. The Tina character, I've never really wanted Michael Myers to leap out of the TV and finish me off while I was watching one of the films more than I did when I saw Tina's character in this movie. And it's, you know, the cops that are there for comic relief with the Bulk and Skull slapstick comedy theme going behind them. It's not funny. It's awful. Maybe it's not quite as bad as Busta Rhymes Kung Fu kicking Michael Myers, but damn it, it's actually really, really close. Up next, and I'd like to put it out there that this is indeed the chronological, as far as when they were released, 5th film in the franchise, what I will call the Hannibal Lecter franchise, including Manhunter, because I do. That would be Hannibal Rising. This is kind of garbage. I'm not really sure why I own this movie. Nightmare 5. And this one is The Dream Child. I would rather watch Freddy's Dead any day of the week than The Dream Child. And I know there are some people out there right now that are probably wanting to throw things at me, but I'll take that, because in my opinion, The Dream Child is definitely my least favorite in the series. Maybe other than the remake, potentially. It's just, it's so bad. It's so bad. I don't even know. I can't even put my finger on what it is exactly. But when you watch the franchise, or maybe I should walk that back, when I watch the franchise, in sequential order, every time I get to this movie, I just go, it's almost like, do I have to? Can I skip this one? It's like running a marathon watching this movie. It's exhausting, and I've never been a really big fan of it. I think there are a couple of moments in it that I enjoy, but other than that, I mean, and they're very fleeting moments, let me tell you. So yeah, unfortunately, that one's got to make my list of worst fifths as well. Coming up next, and we're almost done here, it is the 5th entry in the Psycho franchise, and this one is actually a remake, a reboot, whatever you want to call it. This is the one that stars Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates. Do I really have to say anything else? And last but certainly not least, we're going to end things on the Saw franchise, of course, speaking about Saw 5. This one was like the first one in the franchise where the twist ending didn't inspire really any emotion in me whatsoever. I think if you look back with Jigsaw being on the floor in the bathroom the whole time in the first one, that was really awesome. The addition of Amanda as his apprentice in the second one, the way that everything panned out for Jeff's character at the end of the third movie, and he ends up screwing himself. The introduction of Hoffman in the fourth one, but in the 5th one, it's you should have got in this box. I mean, that's the twist. That's the big twist. And for a franchise that's one of the big things that it does and everyone looks forward to seeing, that was a bit of a letdown. To be honest with you, I think this movie kind of relied too heavily on the traps, and I don't think these traps were quite as good as some of the ones previous, and I definitely don't think they were as good as the filmmakers thought they were. So, as big a fan as I am of this one, or this franchise, not so much hot on this one. And before we go, I just want to reiterate one more time that even though I've been very critical of these movies, I do still watch a lot of them from time to time. So I want to know what you guys think. Do you think I'm being fair here in saying that a lot of the 5th entries in horror franchises tend to be the weakest one? And sure, I know the argument can be made that a lot of later entries in these types of franchises can be weak, but I think even by horror movie fans' standards, a lot of these are particularly the weakest one. So let me know what you guys think about some of these movies. Did you agree with me? Did you not agree with me? Are there some 5th entries in horror franchises I didn't mention that you think are horrible or kind of stand out as being against what I'm saying here, are really good movies? Let me know down in the comments section below. And while you're there, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe and ring that notification bell if you're new here and you don't want to miss every time we go live or upload. And definitely check down below in the description section where you'll see a couple of social media links where you can join our Facebook group, follow us on Instagram or Twitter, and maybe even help us out financially, because there are a couple of links down there in the description also that can tell you how to support this channel and what it is we do. But to tell you more about that is a guy who didn't piss you off with this list just now. It's me, but I'd like to say that because I'm asking for financial support, and you being angry is not a good way to start.
If you enjoy my content and want to support Bloody Breakdown, here are a few ways you can do so. Become a patron of the channel at the Patreon link below. You can make a one-time or a monthly contribution. Simply select a tier of $1, $5, or $10 and unlock the perks that come with your tier of choice. Perks range from early access of videos to your name in the credits listed as a producer. Check out our Amazon wish list with tech items that could go a long way in improving the overall quality of the channel and the podcast. Install Honey. Honey is a free web browser extension that automatically finds and applies coupon codes at checkout for over 30,000 shopping sites, saving you money and coupon searching time. It only takes 2 clicks to install, and using my link in the description section below helps to support Bloody Breakdown.
So with that said, guys, like I said earlier, it's your turn to sound off. I want to know what you all think about this topic. I'm Brandon from Bloody Breakdown, and we'll catch you next time.